What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who have made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and today, as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes
What's up? What's up?
and Levon Maynard.
How the hell are ya?
So today we had another great episode. We're going to talk about the banking system and why you shouldn't use outdated software when you're a bank. So I'm trying to get to the article. So the gist of it is uh, this very large bank overseas called Flagstar Bank, as well as a few other banks. Some of them are going to get pronounced the name wrong because they're a little UK or Australian-y. But the gist of it is Accellion was subject to a zero-day vulnerability back in December. These companies were using it, and then threat actors were able to use the vulnerability to get into the banking system and grab some personal identifiable information, things of that nature. So in the article, it doesn't say anybody's account was depleted or anything like that. Just your run-of-the-mill data breach like we've been having all year. But in this case, the zero-day vulnerability was on legacy software, and Flagstar reported that they discontinued the FTP application immediately. But obviously, it was too late. So along with Flagstar, it was also Quails, Qualys. That's what we're going to go with. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand, the Australian Securities and Investment Commission, and the New South Wales Transport Company. They were all subject to this breach, and they all permanently discontinued using the Accellion file transfer application, which was legacy per Accellion's report to this. I didn't say who it's from, ZDNet article. So the reason it piqued my interest, though, honestly, because I was watching the Duchess of Cyber's LinkedIn. I think I got off her LinkedIn, and she reported it. So shout out to her for coming through because I needed an article, and then she had an article. Again, this was overseas. These companies, these banks seem pretty large, though. And again, they were using outdated software, which did not help them. And then they got hit with a zero day and had to discontinue using the software. So I have way more questions than I have answers for this guy. But again, don't use outdated software, and because it's not supported anymore, right? So uh, you can't really. I can't say you should patch better because you probably did patch up to the latest patch that they had, and since it was end of life, they never pushed another patch. So vulnerabilities be damned. This is what happens to you. But what do you think, Levon?
Yeah, it's a this case of you know uh, a data breach from a zero day. I mean, it's a little bit of a Groundhog's Day, I suppose, as far as this kind of situation. I mean, it's a thing that hopefully companies should try to maintain a upgrade cycle as well as just like a maintenance, just to make sure that they're using the latest and greatest version of the software that they can. If they're using some like legacy version of a software that's not no longer supported by the company. Um, Multiple companies do this kind of thing. They kind of get rid of the old version, like Microsoft upgrades their server operating system, their client operating system, as well as Apple and Google and all these other places. They're kind of like, you don't want to be sitting around on software that's 5, 6, 10 years old. You want to make sure you have the latest and greatest. It has the latest security functionality to prevent these kind of things from happening. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think this is the same group. At least this same type of software is used when we were talking about a few episodes back. We were discussing um, I think it was Bombardier. They were having some issues where they were using like the same file transfer software, and I think somebody had access to their data. Maybe got some of their flights, schematics or what have you for designing their airplanes or what have you. Who knows what they got out of it? But it's obviously concerning as well. I mean, if depending on what this company is using in this file transfer software, I'm not sure if they have how much of a customer data they keep in there. If they're using some like personal in, internal file transfers, or they need to send some files that I wrote a report about our latest sales or whatever, and I uploaded it to the file share so everybody can access it. I'm assuming that's what they're using it for mostly. I'd hope that most of their customer information is like securely, like, encrypted behind some, firewalls. It's not like publicly accessible like this, but who knows what they may have put in there. And I think they reached out. I think the article said they reached out to a customer that were maybe involved in the compromise, and you know, uh, let them know they're receiving some credit monitoring services. But yeah, that's like something that all companies got to be aware of. That software is not impenetrable, and they got to do their best part, do their best to try to keep it up to date, make sure it's secure, and keep everything on the up and up. But what you have on this as well, Shannon?
So, so I've said this in the past, right, in relation to 0 days, but I don't want to say it really applies here because it's not like it was something that was active out there in the wild that was current or something that got exposed. It was legacy software that the bank should have come off of, right? That they shouldn't have been
Hmm.
using. And I've seen this before. I've seen it in some financial institutions that get caught up. Medical community gets caught up with this sometimes. You got your water treatment plants that they're getting away
Right.
with stuff sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Come up on the show, but like you can't you can't be doing these things for the ease of your company or whatever it may be, right? Like this is worse for Flagstar now because of the black eye that they've got from the public, right? The court of public opinion will get you every time, right? Doesn't matter what you think you may have done right. It only matters what people think, right? And here's something that kind of this was an answer that they gave to one of their customers that I was like, you guys need to really do better, right? So a customer asked Flagstar Bank, right? He said, when you were made aware of the breach in January, let me see. When a customer queried why Flagstar Bank was made aware of the breach in January and has only reached out now upon receipt of the email, the company apologized and said it understood their frustration. I don't need
Mm.
you to understand my frustration. I need you to protect my money, right?
Right.
Like that's
Right.
what I need for you to do. Update your systems and do this right, right? Like I just okay. Well, now I'm going to take my money from you and I'm going to go to this other bank in New Zealand or wherever this was that this was, right? Like I'm going to take my money elsewhere because you obviously don't care enough, right? Like you're making money from me. As long as you have my money in your bank, you're collecting the interest off of it, right? Like, so I'm making you money as much as you're supposed to be protecting mine. And this is just it's such a big failure on their part. Like especially when you knew in January, right? Like we're in March now. You know what I mean? Like how is it that you knew about this, didn't really do anything, didn't really notify anybody, you're just like, yeah, we understand your frustration. You know what I mean? Like you're not the only bank in town. Like,
Right.
well, I
Right.
should
Hmm.
hope you're not the only bank in the country. So you're
Yeah.
you're gonna you're gonna lose business off of this, and they just need to do better. Like companies need to stop operating under the mindset of okay, it's gonna cost us money, and then we're gonna have to pay for training, and it's gonna be all this extra we're gonna have to do because this is where it hurts right here. This is where it hurts. And you figure 2020 would have taught them this, right? Like somebody in their IT department would have been like, okay, we need to look out for this because all these places are getting hit. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like this should have
Hmm.
not been something that happened to them off legacy software. And again, when it comes to 0 days, I'm more understanding if it's something that's current that gets found. You know what I mean? Companies will work on it and make sure they do right by their customers. But this is just it's unacceptable to me. Unacceptable to me, especially when
Yeah.
it's a financial institution, especially a financial institution.
Hmm.
It is.
Yeah. So I don't know how old this legacy is legacy, right? So they knew it was going to come to an end of life. They didn't replace it, so that means that somebody in their IT security department just kept it rolling. So again, you need to mitigate risk by moving on because at the end of the day, I'm sure it wouldn't have cost them that much more money. I don't know exactly what they're transferring, but it wasn't large bills through FTP server. You know what I mean? Like it was documentation. Um, but yeah, it blows my mind because like the Oldsmar was because they were on Windows 7, right? It was like Windows 7 and they were using RDP uh, on top of it, and he's just like, but you can poison people like in
Yeah.
this case. But
Yeah.
we don't know what information was leaked. Like you said, Levon, hopefully it wasn't anything like credit card numbers or anything like that. Like hopefully it wasn't that severe.
Yeah. Routing numbers and all this.
But
Because I
I
did
mean,
see it.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say you're a bank.
yeah, yeah. Right. You got some important information about people. And they say there's like a little portion of the article that says the Flagstar Bank says that operations were not impacted, and the Accellion platform was segmented from other network elements such as banking and mortgage systems. So it was like it was separate from like their banking and mortgage systems. Apparently, it was like you were just saying, and like we're kind of discussing that. Hopefully, it was just used for like you know transferring some data, like some reports and things like that. Maybe they had some data. I'm sure they had some customer information in there somewhere, but it wasn't like strictly like this is somebody's bank account, this is their routing number, and all this that we're
Right.
storing on this FTP site to make it easily accessible for us to retrieve. Um,
Hopefully, it wasn't in the payroll department. So I wrote a paper.
yeah.
I don't know if I used data that was given to me to write a scenario, or I made the scenario myself. But in it, it was the because your payroll department has to talk to other entities, and they upload and receive money back and forth, or not money, but the
Account numbers and
yeah,
stuff
the
like
account
that. Yeah.
numbers and whatnot to make sure that your money goes to the direct deposit, all that stuff. Like a lot of stuff's handled away from the organization.
Mhm.
Um, you basically you're paying for a service. So hopefully that wasn't tied to that, because then they're like, yeah, we didn't impact our customers, but we impact our employees. So
Right, right. Yeah, that'd be
um,
even might be just as bad.
But see, this is what I was talking about, the court of public opinion, right? Like, does that minutia, does that even matter? Like all that other stuff we just discussed, it wasn't touching this, that, or the third. Like, do customers really want to hear that? Like,
Mhm.
as soon as they hear you had a cybersecurity incident or you had some type of lapse, you know what I mean, in your
Mhm.
security, like that's where they stop listening. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like they
very
don't want
true.
to hear the rest of it. They're like, okay, well, I don't care that it didn't touch your HR department, your payroll department, your banking statements or whatever. Like, I don't care about any of that.
Mhm.
People don't want to get the full story nowadays, man. Like, you got to
Right.
react on the smallest bit of information. That's what we do, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, no,
That's true.
yeah, that's very true. So yeah, I don't know. Again, it's when something comes to end of life, you have to replace it. Like I know it's expensive, like, but you should have a plan. Like I don't think any company that is that ingrained into a bank probably warned them way ahead of time, because it's about getting that money, getting a new subscription, or issuing you a
Yeah.
new license or whatever. They're like, hey, listen, we've been doing this for you for 5 to 10 years, and now we're about to create a Celion 3.0.
Right.
We need this much money. And they're like, nah, fam.
That's
we'll
right.
keep we'll keep using 1.0.
Yeah.
We'll be all right. This is
Right.
what happens.
This beta you gave us 10 years ago. That's what we can use.
Right.
So that is unfortunate, but hopefully, like they said, they cut it off immediately. Hopefully, they then were able to get in there and figure out what was stolen, to report to the customers. So that is frustrating. Um, but just you telling me that, yeah, this is frustrating, doesn't make me feel less frustrated.
Right. Right. Yeah. I feel bad for you. Oh well. I gotta keep making money over here.
Yep, exactly. But I think that wraps up for this episode. That was a good one.
Mhm.
Uh, patch systems or
Great one, Ryan.
great one,
Great one.
great one. Patch your systems or replace your end of life products. So that's the bottom line, people. Um, but thank you to my co-host. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Always have good insights. It's always a good time. Thank you to the patrons of our Patreon. Thank you for your support. Remember, if you also join the Patreon, you'll receive this content at least 7 days earlier, all at one time. Uh, and the community in there is amazing. However, if you're listening to us on free feeds like YouTube, please subscribe, hit that like button, click that bell so you can keep getting our content and know when it drops. And leave us comments. Let us know how you feel. We got a couple comments. I appreciate that. Just keep them coming. If you are a podcast listener, you'll keep getting these more concise, uh, I would say, value added episodes throughout the week. So Monday through Friday. So not just one big chunk anymore, unless you're a Patreon subscriber, um, but just more digestible content. So let us know what you think. Continue to subscribe to us, share with your friends on your podcast of choice, podcast platform of choice. If you want to hit us up on the socials, they all can be found at www.theothersideofthefirewall.com. That's our Twitter, that's our Instagram, that's our Facebook page and group. Please join the Facebook group, The Other Side of the Firewall. It's a great community, lots of chatter in there. And then you can reach us personally at Ry Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy on both Twitter and Clubhouse. And then Levon,
You hit me up at Levon Maynard on Twitter.
there it is. So appreciate you guys' time, and y'all be easy.
Take care.